What is up, you heathens and demons, you beautiful, blasphemous people? All my wonderful peoples up in the chat. Dr. Josh, this one guy, John Peterson. All of y'all are here, and we got Richard here. Before we get into it with Richard, I think I saw Atheist Rationale. So before we get into it with Richard, I got some announcements. And once we get going a little bit and Richard starts to really differentiate some of his beliefs from that of maybe normal Christendom, and we start talking like different interpretations, how he might interpret some things differently than what a quote unquote normal Christian is. Feel free to highlight me and let me know that you would like to come in and maybe throw John some or throw Richard some questions. Anybody's welcome until the room is full. I'm figuring I never did look at what time non sequitur was starting, but I figured 9:30 could be the ultimate latest that I'll go. So we'll see how it works out. Real quick before we get started, I want to just go over a few announcements. There's a new channel and podcast going on, really good, and I say that because they really talked me up, and how the hell can I not love that? So if you haven't seen Divine Disbelief, go over to them, sub to their channel. Really quality show. I enjoyed it, and they had Cirrus on their last episode. Really good show. It's got Atheist Husker, and I found it to be just really enjoyable. And then the Slippery Slope show should be coming soon, and they're going to be like a animation-based channel going over the different types of fallacies. I've already committed to go and get my cartoon made, and then my Patreon. So if you would like to help this channel, if you would like to get extra content, I'm going to do at least one Colt Bunny video a month on Patreon only. So right now, only patrons are going to get to see that extra Colt Bunny video. Plus, I'm going to be doing extra streams depending on what level of a patron you are. You're going to get a whole bunch of extra Raging Atheist stuff. So if you have at least $1 a month and you can afford it, then please go to my Patreon. And last announcement is the premiere. It's going to be tomorrow at 8 p.m. I'm going to get it finished up tonight, kind of as I'm watching a non-sec a little bit. I've got one final edit to do on it, and it's a really good one. I was going to go with a video that I made that's done, and I thought it was really good, and I was considering making that a premiere and running it tomorrow. But I'm going to go with my first video on Native American culture, legend, and the spirituality that was their religion, and maybe a little bit just slightly into the difference of Native American religion compared to a religion like Christianity. Just slightly. We're only going to just slightly grace that. But that'll be tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. I will be in the chat watching it with whoever would like to come and watch it with me. And I am really looking forward to this. Will be my first premiere on this channel, so I'm looking forward to that. So with all of that crap out of the way, Richard Madsen, I forgot to put your channel in the link. I did sub myself today. So all of you guys in the chat, whether you be Christian, whether you be atheist, agnostic, whatever the hell you are, I highly recommend you go and sub to Richard's channel. And I will get that in the description below after the live stream. So, and I mean, if you just want to talk shit, do what I do. Go sub to his channel, make your clips and talk some shit to Richard. So without further ado, Richard Madsen, welcome once again to the Raging Atheist.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for having me on your show. Peace and respect. Love to all of you. Hey to his one guy. Also, Digital Hammurabi. How you guys doing? And I hope we have good interaction from the chat and from people who come on. So I'm really looking forward to some good, solid challenges. That is to say, I don't want anything easy to answer. The easy stuff's boring. So my channel is about the differentiation between what I see in the text and what's commonly seen in the text, which means that I'm arguing not only with theologians, but I'm also arguing with scholarship. But the things that I have to say about the text can be falsified. That is to say, they can be proven or disproven. So because of that and the fact that they have explanatory power beyond even what I see in the text, and they have, well, falsifiability and explanatory power, I think is the real measure, aside from applicability. Like, how well does it apply to all situations we find? So the understanding that I have of spiritual texts actually knits them together as one thing. So I can state several examples of that, and I'm sure we will, hopefully, tonight.
Yeah. I think I used to have a similar belief a long time ago. I used to think that pretty much all religions, all spiritualities was just a reflection of one mind, reflected differently through several different cultures, and so I used to be a universalist. It was back in my spiritualist days when after I got out of Christianity. My first thought was that Allah and God obviously were the same God. So from there, it just kind of blended into way everything could kind of fit into some generalized mode of this God. And I still think that probably if there is a God, that's probably the case.
Well, I can give examples like, well, if God exists and God is higher than we are, and we know better than to be prejudiced, then certainly God would know better than to be prejudiced. And if that's the case, he would tell everyone the truth, not just some small group of us.
Well, yeah, and that's one of the major flaws with mainstream Christianity. One of the things that I fight against is, all right, say your God is real. For one, they don't allow for any misinterpretation of these sheep herders from 2,000 years ago. And yes, I'm intentionally being a bit disrespectful there, but I mean the sentiment is viable. These are ancient peoples. Like with anybody, you take it kind of with that in hand. Like you read Plato, and yeah, Plato is one of the greatest ancient philosophers, but he's an ancient philosopher. A lot of the stuff he said back then might not so much apply in today's day and age. Not to mention, you call him the greatest philosopher, but he's the greatest philosopher that escaped the fires. So you take everything into context. But just like even like William Shakespeare, a great playwright in his time, some of the things he wrote about back then would be considered highly offensive today in today's society. So I mean, it's just you take everything in with context. So intentionally being a little raging atheist, but not really. There's some truth to it. But
Have
yeah,
you ever heard the?
Oh, go
Sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Have you ever heard the expression "no Tyndale, no Shakespeare," where Tyndale's work in the 1537 Matthew's Bible was actually reviewed and to some extent, at least, what inspired the writing style of Shakespeare that became so famous?
Yeah, and it's funny because that gets mixed up. I think I've probably even mixed it up. Well, I say it occasionally just to really piss people off more than anything. But a lot of people do mix that up and think that Shakespeare was actually somebody that wrote the King James version, and it's like, no, that didn't happen. But it's funny. It's funny some of the misconceptions that's out there. Somebody just told me that the other day. Shakespeare wrote the King James version. I'm like, I'm pretty sure he didn't.
That might be in the wrong order. Yeah.
Yeah. But so that's one of the things. I did start checking out your channel a little bit. I don't have too much time. I've been doing a lot of video work. Plus, I'm other stuff, job hunting, that kind of thing. I got a job, but I'm not like trying to sit around and wait for it to start. So I did check it out a little bit, and yeah, you do have some different, I would say, beliefs than a lot of Christians do, especially when it comes to like end times. But we've kind of been over that, so you don't really have to go into that. If somebody wants to come in, and anybody, feel free. John Maynard, this one guy, anybody that would like to come in and ask Richard questions, feel free to come in. Marty, a pagan perspective, although you do like Richard, so you might take it easy on him.
I don't want taking easy on.
So anybody can come in, but so yeah, just what is some of the major maybe things that you see in normal Christendom that
Mhm.
kind of irks you, or that you would set yourself aside from. Like that's not me right there.
There's only small parts of Christian sects that seem to have the Bible contextually correct, and so all of them can be disproven that I know of. All of them can be disproven by the Bible, and so not only do they have it contextually warped, and that explains why there's so many different sects, all these different contexts that they're using. But not only do they have it contextually warped, they also, I don't know, they inflict their own opinions on it to go with that. If that's not bad enough, that they each have their own context, they're expounding on that greatly, and they're getting way out of range. Like,
oh yeah. For perfect example of that would be praise and Jesus is Lord, trying to apologize for slavery in the Bible. Hey, what's up, X? Apologizing for slavery in the Bible. Oh, it doesn't say slavery. Well, it quite literally says slavery.
no, it certainly does say slavery.
So yeah, so you can, all right. So now you're going to argue that slavery doesn't mean slavery. It means this. It means that, and it's like, well, still, even all of those things you say, we don't allow in modern society. Like we have deemed all of those things immoral. So whatever you want to call it, it's an immoral act by put in a 2,000-year-old book. But you're gonna just sit here and apologize for it. Shannon Q on Twitter, they asked the other day, is like, name one thing apologists could do better, and I'm like, have something they don't need to apologize for. You know?
Actually, I make no apologies. And at the same time, I'm not Matt Powell saying that God is just, or Nephilim Free saying that God is justified in the horrible acts that Christians believe he did, especially in the Old Testament and especially in the book of Ezekiel.
Well, like, and to me, it would just be like so easy to get to a place like you can look. All right, so I want to think that this God exists and that He's good, but I haven't really went through this ancient text, with a fine-tooth comb. But now that I am starting to learn that all the, back then it was pretty bad. Like, can't you just like get your mind to a place that, all right, so these human beings lived in bad societies, and those bad societies infiltrated this holy book. But no, you can't get to that place, and you have to say, oh, no, slavery, God didn't do slavery. And I'm like, no, clearly He did. Like, at least the book says He did.
Well, let's go ahead and tackle that, because that's a nice hard subject to get started on. So I really like the hard topics, as I said. Okay, so you've read the Bible. You said some 7-9 times. I can't remember the number you quoted.
9 times front to back, and I'm actually planning on starting it again for a 10th time, because it's been a while.
Okay, so in the Bible, there's certain hard, fast rules about how we should refer to God. One of the ways that we can refer to God is as the Father, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So do you remember the line where it says, "Call none the Father but God"? Okay. So also in the text, especially in the New Testament, whenever they're going to Christ and they're asking Him His opinion on something, or asking Him for some kind of a teaching, they often call Him the Master.
Okay.
Master this, master that, right?
You're talking about God. They called God the Master?
No, I said Christ.
All right. Yeah. I think I remember that. Yeah. Like definitely some of the apostles called Him Master. So yeah.
Okay. So if I take this book as being one book, which as a Christian I should be able to justify within the text, all of the text, and I say, I will call none the Father but God, and I will call Christ the Master. Let's apply that to slavery. Do you realize there are no stipulations in any of the laws of slavery that the slave's father might have died? It's almost as if the father can't die. Well, I believe it's true the Father can't die, and that's the Father that they're referring to. They're actually referring to God.
Yeah, I'd have to really look at those texts. I'm going to be hopefully starting soon if Praise and Jill don't stop avoiding the debate. But I think I got Praise cornered. So,
I don't know why you would want to debate those two gentlemen.
well, just they asked for it. They asked me to do it,
I
and
guess
then
if someone
and then
begs to be beat up enough, you should beat him up, I guess.
after Dr. Josh put that ass spanking to him,
Yeah, I don't think
they've
they're
been
coming back
quiet.
for second serving on Dr. Josh there.
But mainly, it's going to be my reintroduction back onto the debate stage, where I'm actually going to try to do a debate instead of attack a hate monger. And it's going to be my first partnership with Jim Majors, and we've been talking about doing that ever since he came into my after show with that Matt Powell debate.
Seems to be a brilliant man.
Yeah, and me and Jim have fun together. Like I'm thinking about seriously doing an Earl and Merle. So if nobody saw that the last time Jim was in my live stream, we had a moment. We had a moment. But
That's a beautiful thing.
And I definitely don't want to get too much into slavery, because I definitely want to get to your thoughts on end times, because that's pretty much where it seems like, you run into a lot of troubles with Christians and atheists alike. And I think I might be able to find some kind of agreement to an extent. Like I'm definitely with Dr. Josh with the whole ancient astronaut theory being based off bunk science. But I think in logically thinking that if there was a God coming from the heavens thousands of years ago, that human beings misinterpreted what they were seeing, and it was more than likely biological creatures coming from space. Which is
let me quickly agree with you that there is at least 6 places in the Bible that I can quote where God says that he has flesh, that he stores material objects in heaven, that angels have flesh. Okay, so he's talking about a material heaven, not an immaterial heaven. So I believe the doctrinal beliefs of Christians have that part wrong. Then on top of that, let's look at religion as a whole, and I mean the whole planet's religions. All of it says that we are children of some intelligent that does not live here and never has, and promises to arrive in mass. Well, what would you want to call that?
Well, yeah, you can look at the reference of the three magi out in the desert, and something comes from the heavens or space, and addresses them and tells them about Jesus or whatever it says. But then there's a whole heavenly host of them, like right there up in the sky, and it's like a fucking army, And today we would clearly call that an alien, visitation encounter.
Sure, or an alien invasion. I'm sure that's how it's probably going to be seen at first.
I sent a link to Dr. Josh about all the research that I did, because I do think that the Gospels themselves can be interpreted to say, or at least promote the ancient astronaut theory. When I actually studied the ancient astronaut theory itself, there's a lot of faults with it. Like it's based on bunk science. Dr. Josh's wife did an excellent video. You can find it on their channel about it.
I've watched them. They are excellent videos.
Yeah, I mean, just really good, and it just breaks it down. So I don't believe most of the science that they are coming out saying that the ancient gods were aliens. But I think just logically thinking, if you think about it, and you go back to the story of Garden of Eden, all these most Christians nowadays are saying that God isn't this physical being, that he lives outside of space and time, and he is this other thing. For one, it says that he made us in his image, which means I would guess physical appearance. I hope that he doesn't look how we look on the inside.
Well, I have no idea what a ghost would look like. So
yeah, well, and in the Garden of Adam and Eve, he was clearly walking with Adam and Eve. I mean, he was here on this planet
and
interacting in a physical manner. So if you subscribe literally to the Bible, then how can you not think that God is a physical being?
Well, I'm sure that it was difficult 1,000 years ago. Of course, we need to grow up to say, well, if we can't see it, it's not there. Even in planets that we find that have orbit around a star, it's a necessity that it cross between us and the star. Now, that's one point out of infinite points that it has to be lined up like to our solar system. So it has to be at just the right angle. We'll never see it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if a planet were, if a solar system's plane were at a 90-degree angle to our solar system, we'd never spot any planet there. So it's not a matter of God or heaven being invisible. It's only a matter of, I mean, you can hide galaxies if they're just far enough away.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's something that I'm learning myself. I've been looking at the Hubble telescope for like ever. So I for some reason thought that we just could see pretty much everything. You know, like
No.
and I don't know why I thought that, because I'm learning that no, we have a very specific lens from which we can see the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that. I'm just like, I don't, I've been flabbergasted with that for the last few days, because I just figured that the Hubble telescope saw all, you know. And I think that's maybe some of the mythology they put around that Hubble telescope as I was growing up, is, oh, we're learning everything about the universe. No, we learned a little tiny sliver of the universe.
A little sliver more than we had before. Yes, sir. Yeah, we took a 2-week long picture using Hubble of the darkest spot that we could see in our sphere of vision of the universe. And we took that picture, and you'll never guess what we saw, although it appeared black at first.
What's that?
Tens of thousands of galaxies.
Excuse me.
Countless number of stars. I mean, it's not black, no matter where you look.
I think I actually remember reading something about that. I'm all over NASA's site, like fucking. I can literally read that shit for hours, and we'll be behind on edited video just because I spent 12 hours on NASA and looking at Hubble telescope pictures. I'm like, Saturn just fascinates the hell out of me. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody, if you want to come in and have questions for Richard, feel free to come in.
Come on in and beat me up, people. It's
a weekday, so it's a little different. I was telling Richard before I come on, I'm like, I'm not used to going on during the week. But yeah. So and this is what I really enjoy, and this is, I think, the thing that I've enjoyed most about my about growing and actually starting to do these live events and meeting a lot of different people of different beliefs. I've met a Satanist. I've met several pagans now. Friends with several pagans now. When the only pagans, if you even consider them to be pagans, that I've ever really known would have been other Native American spiritualists. And the only way you could ever consider us to be anything like pagans is if you thought we actually considered the ancestors to be something that we prayed to, and we didn't. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they'd be considered pagans, but.
Well, I would go ahead and assert that all religion worldwide is, first of all, prophetic. Second of all, apocalyptic. And third of all, animism. Now, people use animism as an insult, but it just means using our surroundings to teach a lesson. Now, I find, for instance, chapter 4 of the book of Revelation, I find that in every religion around the world, everywhere I've looked, in Hinduism, in Christianity, in Japan, and specifically in North America, since you're into native culture. Have you ever heard of the Zuni tribes, Z-U-N-I?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, they have these expressions they call kachinas, more properly katsina. But the kachinas, often represented and sold as dolls. If you look at the Red Star Kachina, who is not the first one to arrive ceremonially, but is the most important Kachina. The Red Star Kachina has exactly this pattern painted on his chest in black and white.
Yeah,
beyond that,
somebody in the chat's asking if you painted that yourself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I did. Or ma'am, I'm not sure. Yes, I did. So his helmet is a clay helmet, not a soft helmet, and it's spherical, that fit over the head. and then it has 4 smaller ones, one in the back and 3 in like a crest over top. And each one of those have 6 feathers hanging off them. That's the same as God's habitation, the 4 beasts around God's throne having 6 wings each. And then the 24 elders are represented by very small globes on the front of the mask, which there's only 4 in the front of the mask, but they all 4 have eye holes as if you could see them. I guess if you had 4 eyes in a diamond pattern, you could see through all 4 of them. But this is, again, exactly the same expression. If you look into Red Star Kachina, he's wearing a brown leather apron in a semicircle over his chest, and painted on that is earth things like corn, buffalo, teepee, native, people.
Mm-hmm.
And then the helmet is over top of that. That is, it's the same representation as this. Basically, you have the earth and you have heaven arriving over the earth. Same expression, different religion. Now the question becomes, did they borrow some ideas from some other religion? Well, obviously, Christianity was well established before the invasions. And then the natives, when Christianity was, and their religion much older, when the natives were oppressed and killed off and forced to become Christians, which they didn't, they took their religion underground, they kept their same expressions. It's not like they adopted part of Christianity, which is why I favor pointing out Zuni Indian, Hinduism, and Christianity, because these 3 people really did not like each other very much.
Yeah, well, when it comes to Native American, the Zunis, I have heard of them, and I think I even heard of the dolls that you're speaking of.
Yeah, they are represented as dolls today, but they're still part of the normal practice in religious ceremony.
It's pretty much considered part of ancient Native American, I guess you'd call it dogma, word of mouth tradition, that of the Star people. This often gets associated with the Hopis. I think the Hopis are just the most famous example of an entire tribe having the belief. But like you can go to any of the reservations for the Sioux Nation, the Oglala, the Lakota, and you will find Native Americans that believe in these Star people, and the Star people are essentially aliens. They're essentially aliens that will come and reproduce with human beings and create hybrid children. And they also brought, the sciences and secret knowledge with them. Blah blah blah. Yeah, a lot of people have that. I'll ask that. Maynard saves that. We'll save that for the end because I think that's the most important question of the night. But
we're barely getting started here. We'll have to see about that.
Oh yeah, we got plenty of time. So Native American lore often spoke of Star people. Kind of saw the creator God as more of like just the mystery of the universe, I guess you would say. They called him the great. One of his names was the Great Mystery, and I'm totally plugging the video I'm going to premiere tomorrow. But they did have that element, right? So and that definitely predates Christianity. Might possibly predate Hinduism. I don't want to say that because I do believe that Hinduism,
that would be a close tie, I think.
Yeah, I think Hinduism might be considered the oldest. At least the oldest of the living religions, if not one of the oldest religions in the world. So yeah, it's definitely there. When it comes to Christianity, I think that you see the Catholic Church at least moving to a place of accepting the existence of biological creatures out in space, that maybe God didn't just stop with us. So I think, I definitely think that if you are going to believe in a God concept and then be offended when that God concept gets maybe thrown into thinking about aliens, and I know people get offended by it because I intentionally offend people all the time with this shit, but it's like legitimately like they're the same thing. It's I don't really understand how you can really get your mind around apologizing how they're not similar. You know.
I just heard you mention about 30 different topics that I need to spend about 2 hours talking to you on each topic. So you just logged me for about 60 hours in my view. I would love to address everything you just said and in great detail. And I believe I'm
Well, I
capable
will
of
be clear.
making.
Like, I don't think that there's any evidence that aliens have ever come here, but I'm always
Well,
open to like finding some or whatnot. But do aliens exist? I think it's mathematically improbable for some
well,
life forms out there not to exist. You know,
you've
so
heard of the Fermi paradox, right?
no.
Okay, the Fermi paradox summed up and put in layman's terms is if aliens exist and some of them more advanced than us and they were able to travel long distance through space, why no visitation or contact from them? And my view of the spiritual text around the world actually presents another option as a solution to the Fermi paradox, and that is this. If I had a child, say my child is 2 years old, and I've got a fenced-in backyard, and I've got my kid out playing in the yard, all the teenage kids around that are doing whatever teenage kids do and causing trouble, I'm going to go to those kids and say, look, you stay out of my backyard with my 2-year-old child in there. Okay, I don't want you giving them your thoughts. I don't want you giving them your adulthood, or my child your adulthood. I don't want my kid exposed to that. So you stay out of there. And out of mutual respect, I would hope that those teenage kids would say, okay, well, we're not going to throw broken glass in your yard, and we're going to stay away, and we're not going to cuss around your kid. So what I'm saying in that is, if there are aliens out there, and I believe there are, and I believe that we are the children of aliens, that is, we are ourselves aliens, which would explain a lot about why we don't find equilibrium with our environment, that out of mutual respect between those different kinds of beings out there, they would stay away from us on purpose because we're such children.
All right. So now I'm going to start to challenge you a little bit.
Go ahead, brother.
Actually, I'm gonna start challenging you pretty hardcore now. So
knock yourself out.
So you think that do you think that God is an alien, and that's what the picture is behind you, and in Revelations when God comes back.
We can only call God an alien if we call ourselves alien, in my opinion.
All right, and you just said that we are alien.
Sure looks that way.
And I'm not going to be able to disprove any of that. I find it fascinating, and I actually find it more acceptable than Christianity. But
I think this is the true Christianity.
I would definitely get behind that. It would be better. But so do you think? All right. So do you think that God? Like, do you pray to God?
Yes.
Do you think that God is watching over us?
Well, that all depends. I believe God is attempting to watch over us, but I also believe that we can refuse.
All right. But you do think that he hears prayers?
Yes, and replies.
So this is where it seems like your beliefs would contradict each other, because if he's a physical being and there are these aliens and they're in these ships that are going to come back, Revelations time, how would he hear the prayers, and how would he be able to watch over us?
Well, I believe that God watches over us not with a telescope, but in emotional states and in communication through our emotional systems, including our brain. This is described as the centerpiece in the description of Solomon's temple in the Old Testament. And I've spoken to this a few times on a few different places, but not with you. Okay, so the centerpiece is constructed of two pillars connected by a chain at the capitals. And under that chain is a large basin of water, and floating in the water are lilies with no stems, no leaves, just white lilies. And that large basin of water is supported by 12 bulls facing out equidistant from each other. And the chain and the capitals are decorated with pomegranates. And if you look at the Catholic Church, they have pomegranates and also almonds used as symbology to show piety in their religion. Just all over the place. I believe the Pope's hat is actually a large inverted almond, not an ancient fish god. But anyway, and at the top of his staff, you'll see another almond, etc., and it goes on and on and on and on. Okay, so imagine I have a pomegranate, and I cut a quarter out of the top of it, and I take that section away, and I take an almond, husked almond, and I put it right there, and I hover it right in the middle. All I need is some googly eyes and a smiley face, and you've got the construction of your brain. You've got the little pink globby things, a separating membrane, and right there, an almond right in the center. And where would that almond be located? Well, actually, we have something that looks like an almond in our head. It's called our pineal gland. And the pineal gland is the first electrically active part of our brain whenever human beings show each other or think of each other in empathy. That is to say, I'm saying that empathy is prayer.
All right. Empathy is prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Let me process that, because so that would be definitely a different thing than what I would mean by prayer. So if I'm going out of my way, like I just did in my here, let me get the camera back on. Self-conscious guys, I'm smoking a pipe, trying to quit smoking cigarettes. So if I'm like going way out of my way to empathize with Savannah Louie, like I did in my last video,
Mm-hmm.
then that would be a form of prayer to this God.
No, that's not what I said.
All right. So what are you saying?
It would be a form of prayer to her.
To her, to Savannah Louie.
It's not necessarily to God unless you think of God.
All right. So you say God can hear prayers because of something in our brain that he designed. So he designed us specifically with this thing just so he could hear our thoughts and things like that.
And we're not the only thing that have it. I mean, have you ever owned a dog, for instance, and sometimes the dog knows exactly what to do, even though you didn't make a motion?
So would this being just be one being?
Would God be one being? Not according to the Bible.
All right. So that would make more sense. I'm like, how would they process all of the information coming in? And that's only supposing that
I'm glad you're running through the logic. Yeah.
I would have to assume that there would be other worlds, so it'd have to be this vast processing thingamajig. I'm just asking questions. This is what I do. I ask questions about everything.
Whatever comes to your mind is perfect for this situation. Yeah.
Jay Pasick asks a really good question, so maybe you can expand on this. He says, at the Raging Atheist, what are the attributes of this God that make it a God? So by our definitions of maybe our definition of a God isn't the same definition that you're using of a God. So maybe you can explain what attributes of this God would make it a God.
Okay, well, first of all, if we consider that in the Christian text, God says, I stand amongst gods, then that makes him part of the God club. That is, he's saying there are other gods. So why would he have claim to us, and why don't other gods have any claim? Well, he justifies that too. It's just simply a matter of lineage. That is, the reason our God is because he's our Father. Now we're genetically restricted. We usually call that junk DNA, but so we're temporarily severely inferior, but that doesn't change the lineage. And part of the promise of heaven is that we become, I don't know what an agnostic or atheist might call fully evolved, and we become that in heaven. Which is apparently a greatly improved animal over what we are right now, and something I really look forward to, because I'm not even a very handsome guy. I could use to be a lot prettier. But anyway, so the attributes of God are simply a matter of physical perfection being exercised over time, and that is not to say that God is a singular being. I'm not claiming that.
All right. So, and correct me if I'm not following along correctly. It's a lot of information, and and I think you'd agree. out there. Like most people haven't heard this stuff before. Like I
I've
just
never
started
heard of it
hearing it.
before 2012.
So I think what you're saying is that God is basically a race of alien beings that
Well, let me
all have
clarify
this
that one
like
point.
physical perfection.
Yeah, okay. So I can handle two at a time. That's fine. Okay, so I mean 2 questions at a time. That sounded terrible. I'm sorry, everybody.
I can handle two at a time.
I didn't think of it that way when I said it. I'm sorry. Okay. So the questions now I'm distracted again. Get me to laughing. Okay, so the questions were again, please.
So basically, you're saying that God is a race of beings that would all share this um, physical perfection that would make them God.
Okay, not exactly. Okay, so we're on the edge of becoming space travelers. We're learning a lot about our genetic material. We're trying to cure all diseases. Let's say we got all that done. Let's say it was 100 years from now or something, and we've decided to melt down every skyscraper and make spaceships so we can all become travelers together through space, and we don't die of old age. Because we've defeated every kind of disease that exists in our bodies. Well, that presents an opportunity of permanent growth. So what would the eventuality of that be? We would be a traveling band of Homo sapien going through outer space, forever growing in intelligence, not necessarily intelligence, forever growing in knowledge and thereby power. So if we take that to its eventuality, what we're talking about here, or what I see the spiritual texts describing, is that happened, but it happened so long ago and so horribly far away that we can't really grasp it and really process that with our minds. So, but to address God, and God being sometimes presented as impersonal, or not having a personage, not having flesh, but then other times says he has flesh, but then other times says it's Christ, but then Christ refers to the Father and Christ prays, and all of these confusing things. I believe the riddle is easily answered in Hebrews 1 and Hebrews 11, where God says, with these invisible things, he so made the worlds. Now the difference, in my opinion, between a planet and a world is whether or not there's Homo sapien on it. Anything else would just be a planet. So if he says worlds and he means it that way, then the word earth should be lowercase, and that there's more than one of them. Well, guess what? We've found some 20 odd. I don't know what the count is today. It seems to change constantly. But we've found these Goldilocks planets, which science identifies loosely in definition as being evolution could happen there. Okay? But these are definitely Earth-like planets. So what I'm saying is that God owns more than one Earth. We have a big pride problem thinking that we would busy God and we'd be the only Earth with Homo sapiens sapien on it. And that's not what's being described, but instead is a long lineage into the past of things like this Earth occurring, having beings exactly us on them. Of course, our nature is that we would destroy the planet, that we would start destroying ourselves, that we would start killing each other off in mass, and that we would need rescued from those efforts. So then of course comes the intervention in the story, that is to say, end times, or properly the great day of the Lord, which is our assimilation into their already existing perfected society.
All right. Well, that's a lot.
Yeah, I know.
I try to follow. I should be writing all of this down. Anybody, if you're out there and you would like to come and help me dissect everything Richard's throwing at, see, the great thing about this is none of it's offensive to an atheist. Either you're really enjoying this, or you're just like, oh, everything he's saying is wrong. but you're not offended.
Well, I'd like anyone to prove it wrong.
Christians, I can see Christians right now, just like with their fucking heads exploding. Like any Christian that's watching this right now is like restraining himself from destroying the computer.
Yeah, probably. Well, I said it to Sokka the other day with Dragnot Silvis and Sokka versus Aaron Benton. I said it the other day, and I wasn't joking. The things that I believe are true are offensive to just everybody.
Well, they're not offensive to me. Like they're really interesting.
But you're truly neutral. That's not the same thing.
Yeah, I've always been fascinated by thinking about possibilities and of course I've read Dune and I wasn't a huge sci-fi fan, but I loved Dune. I liked a couple of Asimov's things. Really loved Anne McCaffrey. So I just love thinking about this kind of stuff. But
you just logged 6 more hours of shows right there, buddy. I don't want to tell you.
But it's one thing to read fictions and fantasies and think, well, what if? But it's another thing to like believe it. And so I'm trying to like unpack everything.
Well, I often
so
go ahead.
So the gods, and I actually agree with a lot of the things that you're saying. Like I did send a very 4-letter word filled video to Dr. Josh, but anybody can go and look at it. I can't remember the name of it offhand, but I basically talk about this where there are passages in the Bible, say when Gabriel comes down and to the Virgin Mary, she is afraid of his appearance. It quite literally says that.
Yeah, that would freak you out.
Yeah, there's other instances. So I mean, of angels and people being frightened of their appearance. So they obviously weren't these humanoid looking things that the only difference would be a halo and some wings. They looked visibly different than human beings did, and human beings were scared of them. And I've pointed those passages out numerous times. And
well, if you look into Native American tradition, the messenger, I believe that means angel. The messenger is always about twice the size of the people. That alone is pretty scary.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the people back then, depending on which people you're talking about, may have been as short as about 4 or 4.5 feet tall.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, how do you get from reading these fantastical ideas and thinking, all right, this is cool, to thinking that this is real? Like, that's kind of what I'm trying to understand.
Predictive power.
I'd have to really go back and watch it all and dissect it all, and I should really try to do that to understand. And I definitely, I think Atheist Rationale has it exactly right. If you guys disagree with what he's saying, but there's nothing dangerous about what he's saying, right? He's not.
That was very kind of you. Thank you, Atheist Rationale.
You're not promoting. Holy shit! Somebody's coming in with the camp set. You're not promoting hatred against other peoples. You're actually promoting.
I don't hate anyone.
Yeah, you're actually promoting acceptance of everybody. So so while the concepts are out there, and that was the whole point. This is why I asked you to come on last night, is because I really wanted to delve into and maybe separate you when maybe you just haven't had a chance. It's really hard to talk a lot in some of my open rooms. So this is fascinating. But yeah, how do you get? And then Jay, I do want to read that. Jay's got some really good questions. So, but I will read that question too. Omaros has a question for you. So how do you get to that point? Like, why did you start believing that this was reality instead of maybe some really interesting ideas?
Well, first I have to give you something of my background. I was a very flippant student. I was a terrible student. From age 13 through graduation, I literally and purposefully maintained a D-. Okay.
On purpose?
Yes, on purpose, because I really did not care to learn anything. I wanted to become a bulldozer operator. Yay, I did. That's great. But, and that earned me a living, whatever. But I really was not interested in learning. So I didn't. So when I see things in the text that I have no background in, and I know I slept through most of school from the time I was 13 until I was 19, and yeah, there's an extra year in there. That's right. I know that I didn't already know these things, but I could see in the text what was being described were things that were falsifiable in reality. And I set out to falsify them. I would give you an example, and I found them to be true. Now, this is stuff outside of my knowledge, things I simply wasn't interested in. For instance, can you tell me what is the brightest, most recent comet that NASA is concerned with?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, nobody
I've
would
heard
be.
I've heard about a comet that they think's going
Can
to come pretty
anyone
close,
answer
but
that?
I
Anyone
can't
in the
think of the
side
name of it.
chat? Can anyone in the side chat answer that? Can any scholar answer that? If you're not in NASA, you probably don't know it.
I feel like I should know it because I'm always on their website, and I do remember a story about a comet. I just can't think
There's
of
always a
the name of
story about a comet,
it. Yeah, well, a
but one
comet that was
particular
going to like
comet.
come really close to hitting Earth. Just can't think of the name of it.
Oh, you're right. It's supposed to pierce our solar system.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Which way is that coming in from?
I'm not sure.
Okay. About how fast is it going?
I have no idea.
How far away is it right now?
No idea.
Okay, so basically you only know it's going to go through our solar system.
Yeah, I heard I heard or saw or read a small story about a comet that was supposed to come pretty close to us.
Yeah, true story. Okay, now I looked for that, but I looked for that after having read it in the text. That was a big claim. Okay, so here's the part of the text that reads that. In the story of the Philistines stealing away the Ark of the Covenant. I understand Ark of the Covenant actually means heaven. The Philistine who ended up with it, Philistine just means enemy. What?
Real quick, let me challenge you on that. Where do you get that Ark of the Covenant means heaven?
We're gonna have to dig deeper and deeper and deeper. Can I just wrap this one up?
Yeah. Finish your point.
Okay.
Don't let me get carried away with
the
semantics.
I am speaking in really big ideas that it took months and months to grasp. Yeah, and I know that I'm doing that, but this is the beginning of a conversation. It's going to start general. It's going to get more narrow as we go. Yeah, I hope we have another opportunity to do this. Yeah. Okay. So the Ark of the Covenant is not a statue, and that's irrelevant if it did exist. It actually means heaven. The character in the story, his name is Dagon. Okay. Now, when the Ark of the Covenant is in the house of Dagon, Dagon falls off of his stool. He cuts off his head and hands on his threshold. So on the threshold, he loses his head and hands. But I already understood that what he's talking about are real falsifiable objects. So I did not know that my perception of it would be true, and I set to disprove it. I did that by going to nasa.gov and looking in the sky for things that might block out the appearance of the 3 stars that are the hands and head of Draco. Draco used to be Poseidon, which used to be Dagon. Okay? Mm-hmm. So when I looked for that object was there. It's called Comet C2017 K2 Pan Stars. Now that is coming in from almost perfectly north. It's coming in directly in between those 3 stars, the hands and head of Dagon, now Draco, and is brighter than any object we have ever seen like it before. It has a coma, which indicates that it's sublimating, but it's too far from the sun to be ice sublimation causing the coma. It is rather large for a comet, and it is definitely going to block out the appearance of those 3 stars when it gets close enough to the Earth. So I did not find out about the comet and then apply it to the text. I saw the comet in the text, looked for it, and it's there.
But as with everything, prophecy is usually self-fulfilling. People have been looking into the stars for a while. You can generally,
I wonder just how many thousands of examples, like I just gave, a person would
well,
need before they said, well, golly, that's interesting.
I would have to look at the text and look at the comment and see all the correlating information. But it would be fascinating if all that matched up, and I wouldn't lie. But like I said, people even a couple thousand years ago are a lot smarter than we give them credit for. They've been staring out into the universe.
Just as smart as we are now. We just have better
Yeah.
equipment.
Yeah, so I mean, it wouldn't, like I don't want to spoil too much about my video tomorrow, but all cultures have these prophecies that if you look at them and put them in context, then you could think with what I'm going to be talking about tomorrow, it makes you wait a moment, like pause a moment, like holy shit, like wow, is this real? Like
I can tell you how Muhammad splits the moon if you like.
How Muhammad splits the moon?
Sure. Absolutely.
Go. Well, yeah. Before you do that, let's. I'm going to write that down because I do want to hear that. I want to get to a couple questions from the chat so I can move my chat along.
Let's do it, man.
Muhammad split the moon. All right, so let's not forget that. All right, yeah, this is very interesting. This is exactly why I wanted to do this tonight. So Jay Pasek asked. At the Raging Atheist, what is the point of salvation with this being? So do you believe in salvation?
I'm sorry, I think you hiccuped or something right there at the end, and I missed the last word.
Maybe. So what is the point of salvation with this being? So, like, do you believe in salvation, and does your God being believe in salvation? What is your response to that?
Oh, well, first I take the text to be very, very literal. Okay, so yes, I believe in salvation. There's never any need to ask a question like if I believe some part of the text.
Right.
So what is salvation, I think, is the question. And I think Jay is brilliant, by the way.
Yeah, he's a pretty smart dude.
Yeah, he is. And is that his brother, Jeff? Are they actual twins?
Yeah, I think they're brothers.
I heard that.
And I think they're also related, correct me if I'm wrong, Jay, to Athena, goddess of war, but I could be wrong about that one.
Okay, so what is salvation? Salvation is just acceptance of the offer to voluntarily be assimilated into the already existing society of our ancestry. That's all that it means. And it's going to be a challenge in reality for not agnostics and for not atheists and for not believers, but anyone who just can't accept that God and angels and heaven are solid, real things. Now, I really believe that the Catholic Pope is going to have a big problem with that because they've been preaching that it's on some ethereal plane of existence since, I don't know, 1,000 years ago or something silly. So it's not really about even being a good person or following all of the rules or being perfect in some way as some person might perceive perfection. It's not what it's about. After all, the only unforgivable sin, the only thing that would keep a person out of heaven, which is something that I spoke with Skylar Fiction and Dr. Josh about, is their rejection of heaven, not heaven's rejection of them. That is, God rejects no person.
So how would you reject heaven?
By not accepting it on its arrival, or had you died before that, not accepting God on your interface in your first meeting.
So I'm going to say, just to put it out there, that if some huge ships with 24 orbs showed up in the sky,
look like this, man, just like that,
and you don't accept that it's up there.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I'm like, I always said that, like, people are like, what would you do if revelations happen? I'm like, well, if I'm out in the streets and I look up and Jesus coming down, first off, I'm gonna look for the projectors.
Yeah, seriously.
But like, if he come down and I touch him and he's a real dude, then I'm like, I might have to consider my stance on Jesus.
Right. Well,
I've always said, give me evidence I believe, right?
Well, Jesus is just the hero of the planet when that planet comes to completion. That's what Jesus Christ really means. So what's described in the Bible is there's 23 past Jesus Christ, just not from this planet. And the story that we receive is just the story of the end of the last planet. That's all it is.
All right. Sorry, my roommate's here, so if you guys hear stuff in the background, just ignore it. She's not used to me doing this in the middle of the week. All right, so again, I think that would be something I'd really have to go back and break down the answer. Jay, I hope you think that he answered you, and if not, highlight me again. We'll move on to Omarosa's. I'm going to call you Omarosa, Omarose Moon, just because it's really close to Omarosa. At the Raging Atheist, ask him what makes him different from Joseph Smith and how you're interpreting the Bible. So I think the question is, Joseph Smith says that he interpreted the Bible to be a certain way and had these certain experience. Well, I'll let you answer, and then I'll throw in an answer.
I get the question.
That might differentiate a little bit.
Okay, so there's three ways to judge things: applicability, falsifiability, and predictive power. So since what I've adopted through prayer about spiritual texts causes them all to be one thing, all ancient religions being one thing, that it talks about things that are physical that can be tested for or against, and also it has predictive power. That is, it tells me what to go and look for, and when I look for it, it's actually there. And I don't mean some of the time. I mean 100% of the time. Hello, Regging. Come in, Regging.
Yeah, I muted myself. I would say that definitely one difference. I would think that what you found things in the Bible that you interpret to be different than how other people are interpreting them, and you came to your conclusions.
I'd love to be able to claim that. I can't. That's not true.
All right, so
I didn't study it. I wasn't interested in it. I was an anti-theist at age 42 when this happened. In fact, I spent most of my life speaking against the existence of God.
So did you have like personal experiences that led you there, or was it just thinking about the Bible, coming up with different maybe?
No, I didn't postulate any scenarios. I didn't try to solve it. I wasn't interested in it, and I never read it. I read one story just on a whim, just kind of as a joke.
Let me ask you this. This is the point I'm trying to make when it comes to John Smith.
Yeah.
Did an alien show up and show you these truths?
No, I know this is a weird term, and not everybody accepts this term, but truly, I believe that all of us have some, except for people who've had unfortunate accidents or birth defects. I believe that the common word we should use for prayer is telepathy, and I believe that's what's actually going on. I know that's a hokey sounding word, and there's a lot of stigma attached to that word, but I think quite strictly that's the answer. That when I pray to God, in order to get an answer, God has to pray to me.
All right, so basically what I'm trying to say, the difference between you and John Smith is that John Smith actually claims that angels came to him and showed him where a tablet is, and like he claims to have had this personal experience with these beings.
Yeah, he also looked at a rock in his hat.
Yeah, well, and he had a conversation with John the Baptist as well as
of course he did.
and others. But that would be the difference. And it's a relative fact that John Smith was a con man. Well,
first, I don't believe in magic. I don't think there's any such thing. I don't believe in supernatural.
Neither did John Smith. I mean, John Smith learned an old con man's con, I guess, from his dad. Basically using a seer stone, going from town to town, saying, "Hey, I could use this stone, and we're going to find you treasure." And they would use this stone, and they would find some treasure that they had hidden out in the woods the day before, and charge an exorbitant amount of money that the treasure wasn't worth nearly, and they made
Right.
a really good living doing this. And then,
Sure.
so I mean, he had a known history of being a con man, being a liar, of
Oh,
working
his mentor was also a con man.
to where you just have really weird ideas, and you just go around and talk about them. You don't
Yeah,
put
they're weird.
nobody. You're not trying to create a religion. I think that's a huge difference.
No, what I believe that all religion says is that religion is going to come to an end. There's no building a religion in truth.
Sorry, talking to my roommate.
It's all good.
Give me one. Keep talking real quick, Richard.
Yeah, just no pressure. Just come up with something right off the cuff. Yeah, that should be easy enough. Okay, so
Yeah.
okay, so what I'm basically saying, and what the difference is between, well, first of all, I don't believe there's supernatural. I think there's only natural, but there's things we don't yet know of, and there's things we can't yet test. So what I see actually being described by all the scriptures worldwide, that is all the religions worldwide, is a time of Genesis where we come to understand things we didn't understand simply because we're exposed to it. And like Raging said, if what we're talking about here is perceivably an alien invasion, which is actually the arrival of heaven, if people saw that happen in the sky, they wouldn't be like, oh, that's not happening. I mean, they'd notice. And then as soon as we're done shooting howitzers and missiles at them and hellfire missiles and whatever else we shoot at them, whenever we give up because it has no effect and we quit, and our ancient ancestors come down from God's heaven and say, hi, how are you? I know where you are, and I'm considerate of you because I've been where you are.
All right, I'm back. I want to
some 85% of the population of this planet will instantaneously, the old fairy tales will flip over in their head. They'll understand what's going on, and they'll accept our ancestry pretty much right off the bat, I think.
All right, I want to jump in there and get to that because you said that earlier too, and so I want to expand on that. And just real quick, though, Reese 2.0, did I really say Joe Smith and not Joseph Smith?
Doesn't
Wouldn't
matter.
surprise me.
I got no respect for that guy.
Yeah, I did a really excellent video. You'd have to go really way back in my video log, but it's something about Joseph Smith, and I'm giving you the story of Joseph Smith from Joseph Smith Beyond the Grave. It's fucking awesome. You'd love it. It's fucking great. So you said, and you said this before, and I got in a lot of trouble when I put forth this theory because there is a theory by some scientists. I can't even remember the name, but a couple people have put forth a theory that humans came from the stars. There's a couple verses in the Bible that could be taken as Jesus saying that humans came from the stars. So here would be a major point of contention to where I don't know everything about evolution, don't want to get into a big discussion about evolution. We have found a lot of evidence that would state that humans evolved on this earth. How would your beliefs, how would you get around that evidence to get to your beliefs that we came from?
I don't think there's anything to get around. We all have our presuppositions, our axioms that we can't prove. And what I believe,
I'm sorry, I was calling him John Smith. I was calling him the dude from way back in the colonial days instead of Joseph Smith. Sorry about that. All right, go ahead.
6'1", half dozen the other, as far as I'm concerned. I'm nobody's historian at all.
I should not have gotten that wrong, considering I've done a lot of work on Mormons and Joseph Smith, and yeah, it should definitely. But I misspeak. That's one of my major banes in life is that I'll just keep go, and I'm not realizing that I'm misspeaking, and then I'll say it 20 times in a row. John Smith, and he's like, is he talking about Pocahontas or is he talking about the Mormon? Like, no, I don't think John Smith took Pocahontas.
I don't think any agnostic or atheist or evolutionist is being dishonest. I don't think so. I think they're seeing it the way that they view, through the lenses of their life. And they see it that way. And to any of those persons, and first let me say, I congratulate anyone who leaves things that are not understandable, who leaves things that are filled with magic, and they can't believe in magic. I actually congratulate those people. I encourage Christians to do the same. That I believe all religious people should leave their religion and instead apply what actually matters to what their text says, and get out of the religion. But anyway, so I don't think people are being dishonest. I think it's just their point of view. I'll give you a for instance, and this is off the cuff. I can't confirm this at all, but presently I'm trying to collect a lot of nutritional numbers about the human being, and also all of our food sources, which is quite an endeavor. And I believe that what I'm going to find is I'm going to find a singular multiplier. I have no idea what that multiplier will be. That if applied to genetic similarity, will also be nutritional value. That is to say, how genetically similar are human beings to something we can't eat? Well, actually, extremely dissimilar. But then, if I was God creating an incubator for my children, that's essentially what this is. I wouldn't force them to eat only themselves. That would not be wise. But instead, I would provide a lot of lower animals and plants that are not so brilliant that they could consider a food source and eat without any real moral issues. Although some people would argue that there are moral issues with eating meat. But anyway, so
most of my ex-girlfriends.
To my presuppositions, it makes sense to me that we would be genetically similar. In fact, I'd say it's even predictable.
All right. But I mean, like, what about the fossil record? What about all the other races of humans?
Love these topics.
Did we bring all those hominids with us when we came, or were they already here? Were they the process of evolution that we found?
Okay, so let's say you had to go into a pit of snakes. So first, you take your attack dog, you throw your attack dog in. You wouldn't just walk into a pit of snakes. You wouldn't make your child do it either. You might throw like a ragdoll dummy of your child in the pit of snakes and let them strike that first. You see what I'm saying? There were animals on this planet that looked extremely humanoid, would be very genetically similar. Homology is genetics. I mean, we look like this because our code is written that way. If you're going to have something that looks even similar to me, the more it looks similar to me, the more genetically the same it's going to be by definition. I got no problem with that. So I think what our Father did for us is he sent some soldiers in, some really not so intelligent soldiers. They couldn't figure out buttons. They couldn't make clothes very well. And then once they'd beaten down a path for us and made the bear a little bit more respectful and made the tiger a little bit more respectful, then we came. Now you understand that it's obvious in archaeology that when we became Homo sapiens sapien, we killed off everything and real quick. That is to say, we had a lot of advantage over those other hominid-like things.
Well, our tools were definitely more sophisticated, and our brain function, I believe, has been proven to be more sophisticated. We used more brain function than they did.
Sure.
But I think there were evolutionary things about some of the hominids, take the Neanderthals, that would have been very beneficial had humanity had it.
Like, for instance,
the thick hair, the muscle.
Well, I don't know if that's a benefit or not.
Well, in certain areas, it would have been certainly.
Sure, but we don't have to live in those certain areas.
The muscle mass of the Neanderthal would have been beneficial.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind being stronger.
There's some theories that we only use like a very small percentage of the strength that we're actually able to be able to use because our brains hold us back. Not sure how viable that theory is, but I do remember reading it, and I was like, "This is interesting." But interesting answer. But what about? I mean, like we can pretty much see, based upon the fossil record, Arnold would be a much better person to have this conversation. He understands.
I'd love to have a talk with him sometime.
Frustrated atheist, I believe, if he's in the chat, would be a great person to have this conversation with. He tends to understand the science. but like there are similarities, and we can pretty much see a progression from this to that, from primitive hominid to modern man. Like, how would you? You're basically saying that we brought these, and they were pretty much like the lower intelligent infantry, if you will, type
Sure.
soldiers that they would send out first, conquer the wild land, and then once that land is conquered, the softer but more intelligent modern humans would be able to come in. I mean, I guess
it's tactically viable.
Definitely a good answer to cover evolution. It's better than any fucking young Earth creationist has given.
Well, young Earth creation doesn't work.
Wow, but I mean, it's out there, man. But it's creative, and it's a good. I mean, I think it covers it, guys, doesn't it?
Young Earth creationism can be disproven by the Bible in the blessings of Israel on his 12 sons. If you go through the blessings of Israel, and in fact, still today, the 12 tribes of Israel's flags have that same symbology on them. Not the minor tribes, the 12 major original tribes. Mm-hmm. And what you'll find is that aligns up 1-for-1 for the zodiac. Of course, our year is not 365.25 days. It's actually 365.250138888 days, which means that every 2,160 years, not 2,000 years like Christianity says, every 2,160 years, we negatively progress through a sign of the zodiac, that is a gate or city of the zodiac. And these are the ages of man. Now, if we go back 11 signs, since we're in Aquarius now, then you end up with 23,760 years. Now, that's right about the right time frame, according to archaeology, without those who stretch it into longer time frames. When we look at actual societies around the planet, that appears to me, at least, to be the time where organization, conquering, animal husbandry, all of these things just seem to, quote unquote, appear out of nowhere.
Interesting. For one, I want to thank you for coming,
I appreciate the time. Thank you.
I find you to be very intriguing and very unique. And for two, like, how in the hell is nobody in my chat not wanting to jump in here? Why you guys are leaving me all alone on this to process all this shit by myself? I just said that Will's in the chat now, and he'll probably ask to come in. Will, you're not allowed yet. You have proven
Will's a great party.
Like, he's proven he can be in a serious conversation. I just said relationship. Freudian slip, Will. But he can be in a serious conversation, but he's still going to come in here and totally crash the fuck out of this. So
come on, Will. You're a really bright guy. Come be serious with us.
Oh, did Immutable say he'd come in? See, I missed it. And I've actually been looking at my chat today. So Immutable, if you're still out there and you want to come in, we'll let you come in and ask some questions.
Immutable Destiny. He's the one with the purple and blue and pink nebular object. Yes.
He's really, really smart dude. So if you're still out there, you can come in. We got about 45 more minutes. I should go and make sure what time Non-Sec is starting. But I really want to see it. Non-Sec's going to be really good tonight. Going to have a lot of great people on. John, yep, I will shoot you a link. So John, ask some questions.
Hey, everyone out there in TV land, if Knock would allow it, even though he goes to view something else, if he could leave this on, I will stay on here until everyone else gets exhausted, and you guys can grill me, and you can call me stupid, and you can challenge all my beliefs as much as you like.
Yeah, shit, I don't care. I'm fairly certain it stays on after I leave. So yeah,
if there's more than one customer, it stays on.
Yeah, if anybody wants to come in and talk to Richard or just have a conversation for however long, feel for it. Yeah, like I really want to see the non-sequitur tonight's going to be really good. So if you guys, it's going to be on abortion. There's going to be a lot of panelists. I know Shannon Q is going to be on there from what I read.
Why are we still talking about abortion?
It's the hot topic right now. I don't want to have
man.
any more debates about it, but I understand the passion, and I understand it's a hot topic, and it's one of those hot button issue topics that gets people really worked up. But right now, like, women should be worked up. I think that true
I can
Americans
understand
should be
that.
worked up. It shouldn't be a religious discussion at all. It should be about freedom and about, health and uh, the rights of women everywhere, the rights of people to be able to make grown adult ass decisions without any kind of religious doctrine coming in to make it for them. So I understand it is a very important issue. I just don't like having them with friends because friends become enemies.
Well, I don't ostracize anyone from my life. Sometimes people ostracize themselves, but I don't do that.
Yeah, like, if you have a legitimate um, argument against abortion, or if you legitimately want to have a conversation about life, that's one thing. But if you're like, God hates abortion, suck my dick. I don't want to hear it because God doesn't. God has no problem with killing children, babies. If you go by the Bible, God pretty much enjoys killing everything. I'm trying to find you, John.
I would love to have a
So
chance
many.
sometime to justify everything you just said, because it's anyway. That's maybe I should wait.
Oh no, go for it. I'm looking for John. I got so many damn emails now. It takes me forever to find anybody, especially if we've been on the same email thread forever. Then it's way back here. You think I'd have been to it by now? Like, there's
What I do is when I know someone is soon going to email me, I go
Yep.
ahead and erase the old messages. That way they come to the top.
Yeah, I really need to go through and do some house cleaning in here. I'm up
Yeah.
to 190 emails.
Holy cow, man.
I'm gonna go ahead and send Immutable a link. So if you're still there, Immutable, I'll send you a link, get you
At
in
least
here.
you found him.
I do want to be out of here at 9:15 at the latest. And I'm gonna go look at non-sec, see what time that started. I just saw fucking Immutable, and now I lost him again. What the fuck? So I usually don't curse this much when I have Christians on, but I don't think you mind.
I'm not going to crawl into a closet and cry, brother. It's fine.
Awesome. I just saw him. How the heck am I not seeing him now? Like, I just literally saw his freaking.
Does that thing have a search engine on it?
You'd think it would. I'm just probably
It
too
should.
stupid. I'm too
Hey, somebody
stupid.
write a program for a search engine for your email.
There he is. Yeah, I really got to go through and. But even then, like the last time I went through and emptied it out, it still had like 80 emails. Everybody wants to talk to the raging atheist. All right, back here. All right, so Jay Pasek has another, or we got a few. I got a lot of highlights. Jay said he's got a patrol to do, or he'd come in. John shot you a link.
I'm about to do a series on the Book of Revelation with this one guy, but it's spelled T.
I'm not going. Will, you fucking idiot! I'm not going on non-sec. I'm watching non-sec. I'm like, it's gonna be really good. I want to watch it. And he's like, please remind Raging Atheist when he goes on non-sec to promote the charity. I'm not going on non-sec, you fucking idiot. I love you.
No,
Will.
he's brilliant. I'm assuming he's drunk right now.
Will's funny, man. I fuck with Will. Jay Pasek says, at Raging Atheist, when you see this, go ahead and send me the link to my email or at John Peterson can. Got to go for now. I'll be back in a bit. All right, I'll send you a link, but we might be, 9 o'clock, 9:15. Don't get me going. But all right, so back into the conversation. Go back.
I've got to quit at 9 o'clock tomorrow because I have to go to work, but I'll go all night till 9 o'clock in the morning.
I don't see how you could do that.
I got endless energy for this, man. I mean, I'm in love.
I'd be a zombie. I'm
in love and I can't help it. Truly.
Yeah, well, so talk about that. Like, do you consider it like a Christian evangelicalism, like most, not just the Matt Powells that goes the soul winning, but just everybody kind of goes out and kind of, I wouldn't even say maybe not even Christian. I think maybe that's just a natural thing. Whatever we're passionate about, it does energize us, right? So like X was talking about it, like how I can go have these conversations for 3 to 6 hours, and he couldn't imagine
Mhm.
that. You know, like I do get energized, and I could fucking go.
Yep.
Usually, like if I didn't want to go and watch this particular conversation, and it's a conversation that I've seen, but I want to get the people's perspectives that's involved. Yeah, I could do this right, probably 8 hours straight. If I
That's
didn't have
another
to
thing
wake
that I
up
know
and,
is
take
that's
my
another
daughter to
thing that I
school.
know is true in the Bible. An abundance of the heart parteth the lip.
Now everybody wants in, and I gotta go through. I think I thought I just got done with my emails. Now I gotta find Jay. Yeah, I need to. I need to make like a contact list. That's what I need to do. I need somebody smarter than me to come and organize my emails.
I'm telling you, somebody should write an app for that. If
Yeah,
it doesn't exist,
really.
I mean, that's an opportunity to become a millionaire or whatever.
I need something in my life. Like I got on Facebook the other day. Like I'm seriously like nobody special, but I need an assistant just for my email.
We're all
It is
special, Knock.
it's out
Everybody's
of hand
special.
at this point. It's out of hand. There he is. All right. All right. So back to the conversation now.
Yeah, there's about so far about 40 things you brought up that I'd love to talk in depth about.
Well, yeah, and we're definitely gonna have to have more of these,
I'd love
and
to. Thank you very much.
I'm really trying to open up my time. We'll see where I land with my work, but I'm hoping to get a job that I can really have a more um, open schedule, not work as many hours, not work as many days, really give myself more time to do this, and yet time enough at work to not impoverish myself.
Well, I just went ahead and decided to impoverish myself. I'm semi-retired. I turn down about as much work as I accept. I work for myself. You know, I've just decided that talking to Knock is more important than how much money I have.
Well, that's pretty much where I'm at now. Like I need to be able to take care of my daughter, and I need to be able to get her medicine. Right now, because of our insurance, I don't have to really worry about that, and I understand that a lot of people do.
Did you say type 2 diabetes before? Is that what you said?
Type 1.
Type 1 diabetes.
Yeah,
Sorry.
she's type 1 brittle. So it's uh, sent your Patreon link, not the Hangout link. I've been sending out my Patreon links. Everybody
Begging for money
I
again.
have wanted to come
Gosh,
in
man.
here because I'm not
Wow.
used to having a Patreon, and I'm used to having my Google Hangout on copy. Yeah, so that's why nobody was coming. I'm like, why isn't anybody coming in here? All right,
Because everyone just totally agrees with everything I'm saying. They don't have an argument. That's obviously why they're not showing up.
please give me your money. Don't come in my Hangout. The fuck? All right.
Well, I'm betting you're not the first human to do that and won't be the last.
Jay sent him the real link. So let us find who else I'm looking for. John. Man, John, you is way back there. All right, let's just.
Oh, by the way, everybody, because I'm working on an iPad and I don't know much about computers, I can't even see side chat. So, be sure to highlight the Raging Atheist. Don't highlight me because I can't see it. Now, I'll go through them later and try to address everything that's directly addressed to me in the comments section. But for now, I can't see it.
I need to get better at that. I used to be really good at that, and I need to get better at it again. All right, John, I think you're on this page, maybe somewhere. There you are. All right. It'll be the right link this time. Now I got to find Immutable Destiny. There he is. Boom. That was easy, man. Shit. All right. Who else? Nobody else? I think that was it. I did send Jay, John, and Immutable a link. We got half hour to 45 minutes. So real quick, I'm going to do this. Let's go to non sequitur and see what the fuck time that shit's starting. 9 o'clock. So 9:15 latest. We'll be good.
Okay.
And then anybody else that wants to come in, feel free to come in. And like I said, just because I'm going to go watch non-sec doesn't mean y'all can't stay in the hangout and have conversations. That's the best thing I think about this hangout thing. And I'm going to get Zoom and try to have a different format. But just meeting people, all these different people. I kind of started talking about it earlier and got sidetracked, but just being able to meet so many different kinds of people, right? So like in normal society, I might have like totally dismissed the things you were saying as either, being at a party like that guy's weird, I'm gonna stay away from him, or man, this guy's really cool to talk to. I'm so high right now. But like just being able to have these conversations, finding out why people tick, why they think the things they think, understanding how people can think so vastly different from each other and then still come to the same conclusions. Like me and you think vastly different, and yet we come to the same conclusions that basically don't be shitty to people, and try to enjoy this life and try to get some kind of understanding and meaning from it. So I mean, I don't know, I think that's just what I enjoy most about this YouTube thing.
Peace and respect to you, Brother John Peterson.
Hey, what's up, John?
Yeah, I can't get my headset to connect. You're not getting any feedback, are you?
No,
Sounds clear.
Yeah, you sound pretty good.
I'm surprised because it's just going off my laptop right now.
Oh yeah, you sound really good for a laptop.
Well, your horse looks beautiful and you sound great, man.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna step in. I'm gonna grab some more water. I'll be right back.
So, Richard,
Go ahead, sir.
there was a lot of people that were asking in the chat, so this is your beliefs based on, but it's Bible based, right? Like, is it?
Would you please restate that, because it seems a little bit choppy there. I'm not sure I understood you perfectly.
Oh shoot. Well, that's because my cat just got caught up in the cord of the laptop and just freaked out and yanked everything off the desk here.
That's fun, right?
No, yeah, that's one of the reasons why you have a cat.
Sure, of course.
No, but these beliefs of yours, this is all biblical based.
I don't know. I don't know how you're asking that. Is all of it in the Bible? Yes, at least. Is it found other places? Absolutely. Is it found in reality? Absolutely.
So, do you believe in Jesus?
Yeah, Jesus is the guy that adopts the job of he's the first one to actually pray at the end of an earth, and he becomes Christ. That is, God makes him Christ, and then he becomes part of God.
So you believe
on his ascension. What's that?
So he becomes part of God. Like, so is Jesus? That was going to be my next question. Is Jesus part of God, separate from God? It kind of sounds like you maybe think he's both.
What I'm directly saying that is there's a lineage of earths. Each one needs their own hero. In Christianity, you would call that hero Christ. In Buddhism, you would call that hero Buddha. But it's the same individual, the same singular person, reserved for the time when it's necessary and reserved for a time where it'll be effective, not 2,000 years ago. If Christ was crucified 2,000 years ago, the whole thing was a failure. They should just quit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I often wondered why Christ would have lived back then and not now, when
because God's stupid and he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, we could have totally gotten some selfies at the cross.
Right. That would be awesome, right?
You'd probably be a nobody if you don't have a little bit of some Jesus blood, paraphernalia. I'm joking, but I'm being totally serious. I always wondered, like, why the fuck did God have his son 2,000 years ago in a shit country in the Middle East?
Well, obviously he can't see the future.
Yeah, if he could see the future, why wouldn't he wait to the future when he could have reached billions more people?
Right.
Or why not just create the modern world from the very beginning?
How about waiting till everyone can talk to each other?
Or actually, why not
create
humanity at the end of its progression at the very beginning? So why do we have to progress? Why didn't we just start from our best?
That's
all of these
question.
questions, man.
I want to. Teacher. I'd love to answer that. I know a girl who's homeless and she's filthy, and she's always complaining about being homeless. And I knew her for about 3 years before I found out that her mom lives locally. And she's not in a fight with her mom, and she can go there and wash. She can go there and eat. She can go there and sleep. She can do laundry. Tell me, is that person homeless?
Well, it actually depends. So if you're
she's
talking
fake
homeless in
homeless.
a technical sense, you're talking indigents.
Yeah, I mean, she's
which-
got a backup system. She's not a homeless person.
but she is indigent, so
Sure, she's indigent by choice.
so the technical answer would be yes, she's homeless.
So what would our attitude be if we all came here to this earth and we were born knowing for certain the existence of God? Would we even learn empathy? Would we learn sorrow? Would we learn love? I think not.
Well, so does God know love?
Sure, of course.
Does God know empathy?
Certainly.
Does God know sorrow?
Yes, definitely.
So if God can know these things, and then He
Yes.
created us perfectly to be like Him,
Uh-huh. But I
so-
just said God is a Christ from a past earth who went through this. I already said this.
yeah. But well, my question is, why not just create everything at the end? Like
I don't know.
why?
I think it's the difference between
Why-
on-the-job training and reading a book. I think reading a book is not as good as on-the-job training.
Well, it just seems to me like He's pretty bad at it.
Why?
Because like we pretty much had to practice and get better. He couldn't create us to be better from the beginning.
Are you sure that's not the best situation? And if you are sure of that, I'd love to know how you're sure.
Well,
'Cause you've never
I mean, I
seen
think it
anything
would
else.
be the best situation in an
Well, okay, you can
ideal
think that.
scenario. Like if you're gonna have a create, like say, all right, so if I'm gonna create a book,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna create the best book I can. Like I'm by the time that I'm gonna start publishing it and getting it out there, I'm gonna make sure that all the mistakes I could get out of that book is gonna be gone.
Right on.
So why didn't he do his editorial work?
He did. This is the perfect
Yeah,
situation.
and I'm giving you a hard time, Richard, but
No, it's fine, brother.
I'm just
I
asking
appreciate
the
the
questions.
challenge.
Like usually,
I
I'm
think-
actually a lot worse.
I think even though we don't like this, it's only going to last less than 130 years. I think compared to eternity, that's a small, maybe even except for the learning experience, insignificant amount of time. I myself wouldn't mind suffering my entire life if I knew that I could reduce suffering for 10 more people after that.
All right.
So
Well,
I think
go ahead.
So I
I'm
think
sorry.
the problem of evil is not a problem if there are multiple Earths.
All right. All right. I'll have to dissect that. I mean, the idea of multiple Earths is actually pretty fascinating to me because this is an idea that I've thought about a lot.
I'd start at
I-
NASA.gov and look at Goldilocks planets and look at Fraunhofer lines.
Oh,
and
I've
how
seen
we
them.
confirmed
Like
it. And,
you're right.
you
I
already
think
know that
we're up
stuff,
to
sorry.
20 something now Earth-like planets. I think most
yeah,
of them
more than 20. Yeah.
I think what we know about most of them, by our best guess, is that they're like living hells, and we couldn't live there. But I'm sure something could evolve to adapt to live there.
Oh, you're talking about not Goldilocks planets. You're talking about some of the candidates that got eliminated.
Maybe I'm not too hip on all this science.
You're
When
gonna
I
get hip
when I
on
look
it
at
if
the
you look it up,
NASA
though.
when I look at the NASA sites, I'm mainly looking at the stars and the galaxies and all the cool little pictures that you can find over there. If you guys don't look at that shit, you should. It's pretty fascinating.
It's impressive.
I don't want to
Yeah.
get kind of off kilter the topic, but Korag Nightwolf asked a really good question, and this is something that I've thought about before.
I don't know. Usually he's just doing sharpshooting. He's not serious.
Well, this is a serious question, and I think that I was speaking about how I used to be a universalist. Well, this is one of the lines of thought that got me away from universalism. Okay, so he says, at the Raging Atheist, why does he think God has revealed himself to Native Americans, Mayans, Incans, and Christians? You can throw in Muslims, Buddhists. You know, what you're saying is why didn't God reveal himself in a way that could be certain and consistent with all of those different types of people?
Because the homeless girl is faking it, and he doesn't want us to be fake.
Well, so this is seriously what got me away from universalism, because I used to like I said, I thought that God was just a reflection in different cultures, and they had different ways of practicing the same thing. But then it's if there is an all powerful God, he would have the ability, and I think your concept of God is definitely different than most Christians. But
ability, yes, but why would he ruin it for us?
Well, I'm just saying, like,
dude, we'd all be sitting here looking at our watch going, well, God's not coming back for another 153 years. What kind of an existence is that? Like, why bother with this earth if God was obvious to us and we knew the full truth? There'd be no point in us being here in the first place.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, just why not reveal himself consistently? So why isn't there?
He does. I guess I don't understand the question or something.
I think he's just asking why doesn't he just pop? Like he could broadcast to the whole planet, and you know what I mean? Like he could.
It would be the same message, just different cultures giving it. Different cultures giving different.
Chris messages. On Atheist Edge, in the Christian Atheist or Atheist Christian Book Club, asked this same question. He said to Frank Turek, well, why, if you love somebody and they're getting a disease and you know they're going to get the disease and you don't get them inoculated, what does that say about you and how you really care for them? Meaning, it suggests that if God doesn't prove himself to us, he doesn't actually love us. And perhaps that would be the best observation that speaks to his non-existent. And Chris is a very brilliant guy, and he's right. But the answer is the book of Revelation. When the great day of the Lord comes, that's the forced inoculation. That's when it will be obvious. When you see this coming down from space, there you go. Mm-hmm. You can accept it. You can not accept it. That's up to you.
Hey, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Hey, one thing I wondered is, now, is this set of beliefs and all the things that you've been talking about during the stream, is this just your set of beliefs, or do you belong to like a church or an organization that thinks exactly as you do about all these topics?
I have never heard this explained by any person on this planet. Full stop.
Okay, so you're singularly your beliefs.
All right,
I don't know that that's true.
I'm gonna send Will a link. Will, you can be funny, but you got to be on good behavior. And we got a half an hour. And I personally,
I'd love to hear him be serious.
He was serious the last time he came. It surprised the hell out of me.
Yeah, I saw that. He was serious.
It surprised the hell out of me.
Hey, can I ask a quick question?
Go for it, John. I'm gonna let you press him a little bit, because I'm gonna go back and watch and digest all this stuff. I don't want to press him anymore, because I feel like I've pressed him pretty good. I've gotten the answers I've wanted. So yeah, please go.
Well, I do have a question, another question for him, but I wanted to ask just generally if either of you guys knew, because like if your laptop's telling you that you need to do an operating system update, then maybe that could fuck with all your other shit. Like maybe that's why my Bluetooth ain't working and shit, because the system needs an update. Does that make sense?
I'm not a computer pro, brother.
Okay, I thought maybe one of you guys was, because I'm certainly not. Well, here's the thing. The question.
I don't want to give you the wrong answer, and then like you don't have a laptop no more.
yeah.
I mean, I just don't understand why all of a sudden.
Just ask somebody who's 14; they'll have the answer.
I would think you need a system update. That you probably need the system update, but I would definitely like try to get somebody that knows more than me. Yeah, I'm terrible with computers too.
Earlier, Richard, you were throwing around some terminology, and not that I'm, expert in knowing what this terminology is, but I don't know, it just left a big question mark in my head. You were talking about the falsifiability and the predictive powers of your belief set.
Yes, sir.
I was just wondering if you could elaborate on that, because I'm just not seeing that. I mean, but from maybe, inside your own experiences. Maybe you're seeing it. I'm just not seeing it.
Okay, so I'll make a falsifiable assertion. Having no prior knowledge myself and having been a terrible student and not knowing these things, it was shown to me through prayer that the story of David and Goliath is actually referring to, and in this order, Saul the sun, David the planet Mercury, Abinadab the planet Venus, Eliab the planet Earth, Shema the planet Mars, the inner and outer asteroid belts or Kuiper belt, the giant Goliath with the stone in his forehead and the armament of brass, iron, shiny, and steel. Not shiny and steel, shiny and shield. Sorry. So from that story, applying the story of David and Goliath to the first 5 planets and the Jovian moons, which the story outdates by more than 4,000 years, the invention of the telescope, because somebody's going to ask that. What it actually is describing is the ignition of Jupiter. Okay, so I did not know. In fact, I was so ignorant that I thought we called the moon because it's the moon. I thought we were the only planet with a moon. But I saw that interpretation of it. I went to nasa.gov. I found out I was wrong. Other planets do have moons. I found out the description of the 4 Jovian moons was correct. One looks like iron, one looks like brass, one's big and black, and one is shiny. That was Europa, Callisto, Io, and Ganymede. That they are around a giant, and that giant is a cyclops. He has a stone in his forehead, and we call that the Great Red Eye of Jupiter. And that the planet Jupiter would be ignited. That is, it's flammable. Well, turns out the outer atmosphere is some 21% methane. The mass of the planet by volume, 73% liquid metallic hydrogen. I mean, that's pretty flammable, isn't it?
Well, so
Will, you're up.
When you talk about falsifiable, though, I mean,
that was a test of falsifiability, and it did pass. Now you may not accept it.
Well, right, but what I'm saying is the science that you're talking about, like the makeup of Jupiter and everything. You know, yeah, those are facts. But where's
that's not how I meant it, but yes,
you're talking about your exegesis of the Bible, and you're saying that this is.
I wish I could claim that.
Well, I mean, what can you tell us what verses you're talking about that you got that from? Like,
I told you, David and Goliath. Okay,
David and Goliath. Okay,
I'll tell you exactly. 1 Samuel 17, but it starts at the end of 16, goes to the beginning of 18.
I guess what I'm getting at is that's your interpretation, though.
Well, that's lovely, except for I knew nothing about it, and I knew nothing about astronomy, and I knew nothing about physics or chemistry, and yet all of it's true. In other words, I did not find that the planet Jupiter is flammable, went back to the Bible and said, where can I stick in the planet Jupiter? That's not what happened. And that's what you're actually suggesting in saying that.
Well, no, but where did you go from reading the Bible verses to deciding that was about the planet Jupiter?
I had what I could only describe as a waking dream. That transferred,
right there.
Hold on a second.
That presented a point of view.
Wait,
and in that point of view,
Richard,
this is where John.
Wait a minute, I know, but
you asked me a question.
Right, I know, but you got to a point that gets to the heart of what I'm asking. Okay,
go ahead.
You just said you had an experience, or you had, what did you call
it?
You had an enlightenment.
I would call it a waking dream, I guess.
Okay, that is where you can't use the word falsifiable. Okay,
I don't understand why you're saying that.
Because that is unfalsifiable. When you make a claim that is based on a dream or some epiphanous experience within your mind, that is an unfalsifiable claim. There's no way to falsify that. There's no way to.
You'd be right if I stopped right there. You'd be absolutely right.
Go ahead.
But it doesn't stop there, and I didn't stop there.
That's where it started.
Well, that doesn't matter. That is actually an argument from genetic. What you're saying is because the way I received it, it's wrong. That's a logical fallacy, John. What?
That is not the genetic fallacy.
Yeah, the origin of the idea being false because of its origin is the genetic fallacy.
You're equivocating that there, because it's not in relationship to like making claims based on dreams or like epiphanous experiences or things from within your mind.
John, I have
Genetic
every
fallacy.
understanding why you should doubt me, and that's fine.
Well, no, it's
Okay.
not. But I'm just right now. The thing I'm worried about is like, okay, like if I say to you that everything you're saying is wrong,
Right.
because of who you are,
Sure.
well, then that would be a genetic fallacy. I mean,
So the source is
the source.
I don't want to argue over semantics
All right.
about fallacies. Okay, I'm
Okay.
a baby. I'm only like seven some change years old. I haven't learned much about all of this terminology yet, to be honest with you. I'm
I don't
very
know a
young
lot
at
about it
this.
either. So
Okay,
Yeah.
but if we could move on, the falsifiable parts I've been giving out, I freely will give out. They are falsifiable, that is provable or disprovable. Okay, and they are actually existent in reality. And I did not know these things. That is, I couldn't have come up with them.
That's not true, strictly speaking.
Why do you say?
I have a perfect example.
Go
I
ahead.
actually have my dream journal here. Von
Mhm.
Hell is convinced.
Is
there's
that
some
the same
prophetic-
dream journal from your video on me?
Yeah, it is. It's the same one. I heard him mention it. I was like, I know right where that fucking thing is. So I went and grabbed it. It's just pages of fucking.
Hey, Will, you're very entertaining. Could you come to the point, please?
Yeah. Okay. So it was explained to me that even though I didn't know the things that were in there and that they sounded like things that I had that could have been divine revelation or whatever, they could have been things that I just made up through peripheral. Like I experienced through dreams through peripheral things that I didn't know.
Did you falsify any of them?
No, but that doesn't mean that they're
true or not true.
No.
I'm sorry. This is the scientific test for things.
No.
Yeah, but you can say the same about your dream. So
what do you mean? You can say the same. Look, things I didn't know revealed to me in a short dream sequence took about 3.5 minutes. I tested against reality. They are true in reality. That is 100% true in reality. I don't know what you want me to say about that. It's falsifiable, and it stood to falsifiability, and it stood true. It just did.
I have an account here of creation from a dream that I received.
Can you prove it?
It mimics pretty much exactly the Big Bang, and I had this dream before I got into atheism.
That's great.
This is the final draft I've been working on that just puts it all chronologically in order.
I mean, that's interesting, but I don't know what you're trying to show.
My point is that I came from a dream, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's God.
That's right.
To
That's
me.
why it has to be falsifiable and falsified or proven. That's right.
I mean,
you're right.
Couldn't it be possible that maybe you picked up some information, retained that information, and it got down into your subconscious, or even maybe one night you left the TV on and this information.
Tell me how I already knew about a comet.
That's what he's telling you right now.
That's what I'm saying. It seeped into your subconscious, and then you had a dream based upon information that you didn't quite understand you had, but had before the dream. Then checked it out, and it became falsifiable information because it was.
I guess you'll know when Jupiter's lit.
Information. I mean,
I guess you'll know when Jupiter's lit.
The thing that we can't say, even if you had an accurate dream, and I mean, I've had dreams all the time to where I'm like, man, I've dreamed this before, and this is exactly how it happened. Our brains are very, very mysterious. Still, we're still learning about it.
This is why I asked you about K2 Pan stars, to ask what you already know about it, because it's a brand new comet. We found it in 2017. That's why it's called 2017.
That's a good point. And I'd have to get all the correlating evidence and look at it and see how close it all matches up.
I mean, because that's suggesting that I know everything that NASA knows without looking.
I do remember reading an article about a comet. So yeah, I mean, it sticks out in my memory. It got to my long-term memory. So that part definitely, boom, I can like, yeah, there's a comet that I can put this to. Now I would have to study the correlating information to see how it matches up. But like, it's all interesting to me. Like you know, it's fascinating. It's different, and that's the whole point of this. Different interpretations, even if you started before you developed those interpretations, there are different interpretations.
I didn't develop them. They were just presented to me, and they hold true. I didn't
Hey, you
develop
know
them
what
at
I?
all.
Okay, wait.
You know what I kept thinking of when I was listening, when I was in the chat and listening to you, Richard. And I'm
right,
not saying
boss.
this. I'm not saying this pejoratively, but all I kept thinking of is H.P. Lovecraft. I mean, a lot of what you're saying
I don't
sounds.
know what that means.
Well, H.P. Lovecraft was a science fiction writer.
Okay,
And-
that's interesting.
I
And
mean,
he wrote about cosmic horrors and other planets, world
Right.
eaters. Stephen King's It is loosely based on.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Where did you get that information from, Will?
What, H.P. Lovecraft?
No, Stephen King.
Stephen King's It okay, so
inspired by.
it is loosely based on a character called Nyarlathotep. He's a shape-shifting worm, and he's also an amalgamation of Cthulhu, who's the world eater.
You're
See,
wrong.
you really got Nakasuchi grinding because he
You're
is
wrong.
Are you fucking kidding me? I'm not wrong.
Stephen King's It is a repetitive nightmare he had as a child that scared him so badly. He still to this day, because of Pennywise the clown, sleeps with a nightlight on.
But
I know my Stephen King. I know my Stephen King.
How do you know he didn't read H.P. Lovecraft?
Well, maybe he did. I mean, he was an avid reader, but I'm saying the story came from a nightmare he had repetitively as a child.
Right, but he came up with the full mythology.
Hey guys,
shit, man, we're talking.
Move on from that.
I got 18 minutes. Yeah, we're getting off track, and
all right, I will.
You get me talking Stephen King, I'll go for hours.
I know. Okay, to Richard's credit, we were having a conversation the other night about DMT and like the dream gene and the dream chemical, sort of lucid dreaming, dimethyltryptamine in the pineal gland and all that horse shit, and how in REM sleep that chemical activates and produces some wacky dreams. And like that's why if you take fucking Ambien, you do weird wacky shit. Because
yeah, I won't take Ambien ever again. Ever.
Yeah, it's DMT. So
I've done DMT once and I didn't like it.
Okay, how many hits did you take though?
I don't even like thinking about it. Y'all talk. I'll let you get back at Richard because I'm gonna try to not have this bad trip you're sending me down.
Hey John, you sounded like you weren't done with the thought.
Well, no, I just. I mean, I basically made my point. The point I wanted to make, it wasn't, again, it wasn't like to be pejorative or say anything about, what you were talking about, but it just, while you were speaking, I kept thinking a lot about H.P. Lovecraft because it has that same kind of flavor, the things that you're talking about.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I don't want to compare it to Scientology stuff like that, but it definitely has some of the ideas of maybe Dianetics.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Scientology too. It's in some ways similar.
Fucking the dream catcher.
No, it's hard comparing somebody like Richard, who is genuine and pure, and just having a discussion about ideas with something like Scientology, which is one of the most dangerous cults in the world. So I'm not trying to give it that bad element. Just the storylines of Dianetics.
You know why it's called Dianetics?
The interstellar type religion.
Hey, Rage. You know why it's called Dianetics?
I do. I've actually read it a couple
times. His wife's name was Diane.
Yeah. I think you're right.
It's been so long since I mean, it was a big joke. I think it was a joke to him too.
I have a full collection of. I have a full unopened collection of everything L. Ron Hubbard's written and the Church of Scientology. It's funny. I got it at a library book sale where they were just, and they're completely in the package too. So they must have sat on the shelf in the.
That's
package.
where
I
got Dianetics in a yard sale.
Get you a coffee.
I got it for $1.
Yeah.
The whole set. It was like this big.
Well,
you paid too much.
But what I do think, getting back seriously with Richard is you put in a lot of thought to it, and it makes just as much sense as Yahweh and Jesus.
I
how
got to admit,
Christians see
Rage,
it
I have
doesn't make
not put a lot
much
of thought
logical
into
sense
this.
at all. At least there's some logical physical characters here
It's-
not existing outside of time and space,
See,
and
that's the really
manipulating
funny
the world
part.
to kill gay people. So I mean, it's a lot better actually.
I haven't studied that book writer that John just mentioned. I haven't read about philosophy. I haven't studied science. I haven't studied physics. I'm terrible at math, naturally, I guess.
I'm terrible at math.
And I didn't come up with these ideas and make them work. I didn't go and read the Bible and go cherry pick things that would fit. It's exactly the other way around. I read the Bible and what I saw was describing a thing. I go look for the thing and it's there.
Well, so what you're saying is that you are the conduit of this information. You're not the author of it.
I'm no author at all. No way.
I mean,
I can't claim any of that.
I mean,
it's definitely
that
interesting.
sounds-
I do know, like, Immutable said he's going to be in at 10. We still got 15 minutes. I'm not going to end it till 9:15. But Immutable
kind,
definitely is going to be in at 10 o'clock. Both of you are more than, stay, talk to Richard after we end. Anybody else that wants to come in, I would highlight me now.
When we go off the air, I am going to go smoke a cigarette and come back, though.
Don't blame me there. But I'm just saying, like, so it will continue, even though I'm going to go watch Non Sequitur and finish up the video that I'm going to be premiering tomorrow and get everything going and ready for that premiere tomorrow. This has been an interesting conversation. I'm going to actually have to no choice, go back and actually look at this whole conversation, kind of break down some of where.
There's Immutable.
Yeah, there he is. Break down some of your talking points and what you said, and just really think about it and consider this for a while. This is going to be the first of many, many conversations as we learn the depths of Richard Madsen.
I wish I could claim all that. I really can't. Oh, and by the way, Immutable and John and Will, I try to remember to congratulate people that either moved away from or never got into something that doesn't make sense, something that doesn't stay to your morality, that you're unbending in some way, most likely in logic and most likely in morality. And I congratulate you for that. And I really respect that, and respect to you all.
Oh yeah, man. I just enjoy the hell out of you, Richard. I think you're a good dude. I definitely hang out with you in real life, and I'd probably yank your beard a couple times, but
right on.
Well, I loved it. I loved it when he came into the hangout and was taking Sky out. I think it was Sky out or another theist was in here, and Richard was taking him to task. He was.
Yeah. He comes in and he talks, and sometimes I need to get better about not letting people talk over each other, not talking over people. But you'll sit there and wait for an hour and a half to make a damn point. So like you take it to the opposite extreme. I'm like, let me jump in, and you're just like, I got 4 hours.
Hey, speaking of your beard, Richard, I put in chat earlier. It was way at the beginning before we started. What transitional form did your beard evolve from?
It started out as a mustache, became a goatee over time. Eventually, there were little like lamb chop sideburns. No, it was just a beard all of a sudden.
So what you're saying is your beard is proof that Kent Hovind is right, and there is kind evolution does exist.
Hey, Ken Hovind is a sweet man that means well.
He's
He
a con
really
man,
is.
but we can disagree. Like, as a humanist, I want to believe you. Like, I want to be like, there's some good in Kent Hovind, and then I listen to Kent Hovind, and I'm like, no.
I'll give you something to like about Kent Hovind. You can order any of his video series and return them, and they're not copyrighted. You can make your own copies, and he suggests you do.
That's true. He does do that.
Yes, sir.
I remember
How you
the
doing,
day
everybody?
I'll give him props for that.
Yeah.
I remember the day that TJ was on CNN, and he was on with Kent
I
Hovind.
saw that shit live, dude.
I know, me too. And fuck it, TJ, are you with us? And then the Pope died, or no, he didn't die. No, it was he resigned, which I don't think has ever happened, has it?
No, that's a record.
Yeah, it was like a big fucking deal. It's like shit.
Yeah, I remember seeing the Amazing Atheist go on CNN live. I was watching CNN. I'm like, that's the Amazing Atheist. Holy shit.
I used to die at CNN. I remember Thanksgiving of I think it was like 2009. The Irish Spring. Fuck, that's a soap. The Arab Spring.
Spring.
I like your brand, Will. It's really interesting.
I think that's a good spot to end the broadcast. Non sequitur just started. So real quick, and then everybody here, feel free to hang out for as long as you want after I end it. But before I end it, remember tomorrow, 8:00 Eastern, I'll have my first premiere. It's going to be a good one.
Right.
Really enjoyed this conversation. Hopefully, we got plenty of people in here now that'll give you plenty of challenges, just like you wanted, Richard. I'm going to get Richard's channel's description into the link below. Like, guys, seriously, go check him out. Subscribe to his channel.
Hey, is there any way we can keep recording so I can get this on my playlist, including this part? Because I think this is going to be some of the more challenging part because we have so many sets of brains here.
If you want, Richard, I could throw up a quick live stream if you want.
Yeah, like this one guy.
Yeah, let's all switch over to this one guy.
So this one guy is going to have the Raging show.
Hey, Raging.
Yeah,
I'll name it as such.
Hey, Raging, before you end this live, real quick question to Richard, though. That
yep.
No, everything you said tonight, you said you're the only one you've ever heard speak about these things. Have you gone and written all this down somewhere? Like, do you have a book or anything like that?
I've got a 3-ring binder, I guess.
You've made notes and all that. Okay, I just wondered if you had published a book or anything. Okay.
No, sir. I'm a baby. I haven't had time to do anything.
Man, you should think about, and I could help you with outlining and stuff, throwing all this crap, not to call it crap, but throwing all this information into a book. It'd be interesting. It would be interesting.
I think it's interesting. I don't know.
I'm going to sell copies. Hey, don't forget this Saturday, 8:00, Tiara Duelo ASMRist on my channel as well. I had to do the plug because nobody loves me.
Oh yeah, plug your guys' channel real quick. This one guy, what I would do is I would leave this open. Go start your live stream and then put I don't know, maybe put the link or something, so you can get everybody there. I know Immutable wants to talk to Richard and everybody in the live chat. I'm going to watch Non Sequitur. Sorry, this one guy, but go check out this one guy's channel. And the Raging Atheist After Show and the conversation with Richard is going to continue. Richard, I'm definitely going to
peace and respect to all of you out there. I love you all very much. I know someday we're all going to be friends.
Oh, we're friends now.
Thank you, brother.
All right, you guys have a good night.